down to college football for our ACC preview. Of course, to start off the difference, there's no Atlantic and no Central Division or Coastal Division. I
Yes.
believe it's the first team that or first division to go. What am I saying?
Conference sans division.
Yes, to go division.
It's definitely going to be the norm of college football. The SEC is going to do it. Big Ten, Pac-12. It has done it last year. They were actually the first ones.
Tyler with the
to do it. And then the ACC was like, okay, we'll do that too. Well, actually, technically, the Big 12, if you want to count it. I don't know. All I know is starting next.
Teams.
Yeah, it's just starting next year. Everybody's going to be top 2, and you're in the conference championship.
Which I think that's how it should be. So
right.
Instead of breaking down every team, because there's a lot of teams and half of them are going to suck anyway, I'm just going to read their records and over-under, and I want y'all to tell me who you pick for over-under, and we're going to go into the top 3 teams once we get done with it. So started off, we're going to go Virginia Tech. Record last year was 3-8. Their over-under is set at 4.5. Real quick, Tyler, what do you think?
It's just tough for me to see Virginia Tech down this bad. That 3 wins came in the first year. A program lost to Old Dominion. I don't think they lose to Old Dominion again. I think that this is not probably going to be a bowl win team, but it'll be a 5-7 win team.
Okay, Wade, what do you think?
I think they'll be down in the dumps another year.
All right.
Come on, Sandman and all that.
I'm gonna hit them with the over because they got the Baylor quarterback Kyron Drones transferring in, and they really boosted their offense with some more key portal players. So let's go Georgia Tech. 2022, they finished the season at 5-7, but their over/under is set at 4. So I saw Miami, I saw 7.5, and I was like, wait, hold up, Georgia Tech 7.5? No, over/under 4. What do you think there, Tyler?
Georgia Tech is definitely one of those teams that are definitely interesting. I just see them going over. I just don't think that they're going to be that bad of a football team. Georgia Tech is always one of those sneaky ACC teams that's going to upset you one week. They're just one of those physical bunches.
Watch out, Georgia.
Yeah, no, they're not going to do that. Georgia's probably going to plow them for like the 10th consecutive year. But I do think that the Yellow Jackets will be hovering either around 5 wins, or maybe they get lucky and get that 6th win and head to a bowl game.
What do you think, Wade?
I mean, this program was so good growing up as a kid. I mean, they
beat LSU. They gave
LSU.
They did.
Yeah.
That's whenever Les Miles' stubborn butt just kept running the football.
Yeah.
Well, it was those 2 programs both had like 20 bowl game appearance streaks, and like they were never like national championship contenders, but my God, they fell off quickly. I mean, they're like 2-10 for like 3 consecutive years, and they decided to start throwing the ball, and maybe after 4 years they've learned how to do that. So I'll give them the over.
Well, they got a new coach, and they got A&M transfer quarterback Haynes King
taking the reins.
And just for that, I'm picking the under. He lost his job to Max Johnson.
What? I'll be different. Just give him the over. I guess I'll trust in Haynes King for one more year.
Oh, Lord.
All right. Well, let's go back to Virginia. 3-7 in 2022. Over/under set at 3.5. What do you got, Tyler?
I think that they're going to be once again 3-win team. This is a team that's been down in the dumps in the ACC for quite some time. It feels like whenever they had Kendrick Perkins, that Perkins quarterback, they were good for a couple of seasons, and then once he left, Virginia was back to sucking in the ACC. So I think that this is going to be another year of torture for the Cavaliers, and they're probably just going to be looking at their calendar and like, when's basketball season, when's baseball season?
Yeah, let's be real. ACC is more of a basketball conference. Wade, what do you got? 3.5.
Yeah, I think 3 is the magic number for this bunch. I mean, they did have the tragedy in the offseason, and I think that brings the team together, but it also probably put a big dent in their recruiting, and, you just were focused on other things. So I don't think this team's really there for this season.
Last year, they didn't score more than 30 points all year. So that's pretty bad on offense. And
in a game.
Yes, in a game. Sorry, let me clarify that. They didn't score more than 30 in a game. And the defense averaged 24 points per game allowed. Let's spice it up with Miami. They went 5-7 last year, but a lot of people are high on the Mario Cristobal train. Their over-under is set at 7.5. Tyler, what do you think?
Miami just continues to disappoint me like Texas does every year. I try to pick them to win the division every year, and then they just fail me. So They definitely have a rough schedule. They have to host Texas A&M. I think that Texas A&M is one of those teams that are also like Miami getting the preseason hype, but also failing. So at 7 wins, I'll give them the 6. I think they go 6-6.
All
I'll
right.
give them nothing more than that. I just think that they're going to be the same old Miami. They lost their swagger, and I think that Mario Cristobal is already going to be on the hot seat because Miami's athletic director is like, okay, you're sucking, get out of here. They're going to be at the next one like, okay, you suck, get out of here. So they can't keep a head coach for like 5 years nowadays.
Wade, who are you picking? Over or under?
I got them going 7-5. I think that seems appropriate, and give them the under.
All right. Like I mentioned, it's Cristobal's second year. They got Tyler Van Dyke. If he can stay healthy, that's kind of the key to their success, but I'm going to give them the under as well. Boston College, they rounded out the year at 3-9. Their over-under is set at
Be
5.5.
over under.
And I'm going to tell you the notes I took for Boston College from the preview I read. I just wrote bad. So I think I'm going to go with the under 5.5 there. So do y'all agree with me?
Yeah, Boston
If
College.
Georgia Tech gets the under, they get the under.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I feel like if I'm giving the under to the Georgia Tech, I feel like they're pretty similar, and they'll probably get like an upset. Maybe upset like NC State or somebody like that, or Wake Forest. But outside of that, whenever they have Clemson and Florida State, it won't probably be much of a contest. So sorry, Boston College. No longer the days of Matt Ryan there. So
Nope.
BC under.
Okay, let's go Pittsburgh. 5-3 last year. Over under set at 6.5. And Pitt, they're rebuilding their defense. They lost a lot of guys. And they have their QB, Phil Jerkovich, returning after playing 2 years at Boston College. He was tired of that crap and he went back to Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So who do you got, or what do you got at 6.5 on Pittsburgh? On the mighty Pitt.
Pittsburgh lost a lot of offensive production last year with one of their top running backs. So I think that it's been consistent a couple of years of winning, but I think that it's going to fall down to 500 football. So give me the under. I think this is a 6-6 football team. I think there's going to be question marks to be answered on both sides of the ball. So I think that with a top-heavy ACC this year, I think that Pitt is going to be in the middle of the pack and finish 500.
All right, Wade, what do you think?
Yeah, you stole the words out of my mouth. I think there's going to be a lot of, 6-6, 7-5, 5-7 type teams in this league. So pencil them in for 6-6 and a Motor City Bowl up in Detroit.
All right. We got Louisville. Went 8-5 last year, and their over/under is set at 7.5. They don't play. Keep in mind, they don't play Clemson, Florida State, or North Carolina this year. They've got a new coach and a new transfer quarterback. Over/under 7.5. Wade, what do you think?
I mean, we're going a lot of 6-6, 7-5. So there's some wins in here somewhere. And if they're not playing the big dogs, they get it. I think they get to 9 wins.
All right. Big hope for Louisville. Tyler.
Yeah, I bet they're like, thank God we want to play the big guys. So I think even with the new head coach and the new transfer quarterback, I think that they're going to be a good enough football team to get to the 8-win mark, at least maybe even 9 wins if they're lucky. So I think that the Cardinal have a bounce back year. This is a year after Malik Cunningham, so that's definitely going to be a new style of offense. They might rely heavily more on the running game. So I think that the Cardinal will get to 8 wins at least.
Okay. Let's go back down to the bottom tier. Syracuse, 7-6 last year. They were 6.5 on the over/under. And my notes for Syracuse is they have Garrett Schrader returning at quarterback. The beard himself, Wade wishes he had a beard like him. So, Wade, do you think he can lead the Mighty Orange to over 6.5 wins?
No, and I thought he had like 6.5 years of college eligibility.
He's still playing. Yeah. Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, their defense definitely lost some key pieces. I think that's what kept them afloat. Darius Chestnut, one of their top corners, is no longer there. He decided to transfer to LSU. I think that their offensive Garrett Schrader,
Chestnut.
I just think that, I don't know, losing one of their top running backs too, I think this is going to be a team with a drop-off. So I think it's going to be a 5-win team. I don't think they're going to be that good.
Okay, so a team that has a lot of returners, 17 to be exact, is Duke. They were 5-3 last year, and their over/under set at 6.5. They also have one of the most up and coming coaches and one of the better coaches in the ACC, and Mike Elko, big defensive mind there. So, what do you think? Duke 6.5 over under, Tyler.
That's an easy over for me. Duke is one of my favorite teams to watch heading into the season. They're one of my sleeper teams. It's not really win the ACC championship, but it really makes some noise and get into the top half. Like you mentioned, Mike Elko did a phenomenal job. His first year, he had to really get some of the recruits to buy into what he was selling. I think that he was he made it to a bowl game last season. Riley Leonard is, everyone likes to talk about Jordan Travis and Drake May, but I think that Riley Leonard is a really talented quarterback. I think that their defense travels every week, especially with Elko's system. So I think that Duke, it wouldn't surprise me if they get to 9 wins this season.
I like it. Wade, you going with the Blue Devils?
After that campaign speech, man, I got to give them 7 wins. I think they get the over.
Only 7.
Yeah, maybe 8. Maybe.
All right.
The Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Yes, the Duke is going to the Duke's Mayo Bowl, and we're going to be there to cover it. I'm manifesting that right now. So we got 4 teams left. We got North Carolina, went 9-5 last year. Their over/under is set at 8.5. Of course, they're returning Drake May. He's one of the most hyped quarterbacks in college football. They do open up facing South Carolina. They have Appalachian State on the schedule.
Oh gosh,
and they play Clemson and Miami. So that 8.5 number is looking pretty tough because I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4 losses right off the bat. Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a surprising under. I think that they lost some games that they shouldn't. Their defense is god awful. They cannot stop anybody. They gave up almost 63 points to Appalachian State, and Appalachian State wasn't even good that year. If you remember, the Mountaineers were like, they beat A&M, they kept it at North Carolina, and then they just fell on their face in the Sun Belt. So I think with their schedule, I think that their offense will win them some games, but I think this is an 8-win team. So give me the under.
All right. Wade, what do you think?
Yeah, I think if they want to get to 9 wins, they have to pull off the upset over South Carolina or Clemson. So I'm going to go with the under, go right at 8 wins.
All right, we got Wake Forest finished 8-5 last year. Their over/under is set at 5.5. They lost their QB, but they do have a pretty good wide receiver core. But their defense was last in the ACC last year with 34 points allowed per game. What do you think, Wade?
I think they go 6-6 and sneak into a bowl game.
Okay, so they don't play as good as their baseball team, but they do get the over. So, Tyler, what you got?
Yeah, I think that their offense is going to be more of a question mark of their defense. Without Sam Hartman being there, I think that their wide receiver core is about as good as not really anyone in the ACC. We're going to talk about the 2 other teams that might have better wide receiver cores than them. I think that they're going to be right at 5 wins. I think this is going to a team that's going to miss out on a bowl victory. It's definitely hard to, with the defense that they have not being so great in an ACC conference that's going to be better offensively. So give me 5 wins. So give me the under.
Okay. Is Sam Hartman the guy that keeps his rib in the fridge, or is
yes,
that one?
Yes.
Yeah. What a weirdo.
Well, we get to talk about Notre Dame since they're not in a conference.
Yes. NC State, 8.5 last year. We both picked them to win the ACC, and they let us down. Their over/under is set at 6.5. They got a transfer quarterback coming in. Pretty good defense, but not much for a wide receiver core. 6.5. Tyler.
Well, I'm going to go right under the under. I think they gave 6. So without Devin Leary being there, I think that their quarterback after him definitely did well at the back end of the stretch. I think that their defense will always keep them in the ACC competition. So I think this will be a bowl team at least. So give me the 6 wins on the dot.
All right, Wade.
Yeah, I could see him being right there at 6-6. I mean, again, it just feels like we're going to have a lot of these mediocre teams. And, I think it's kind of like round robin. Like Team A will beat Team B, but lose to Team C. And it's going to be hard to differentiate them. But the ACC will probably fill their bowl slots one way or another.
So rounding out the ACC, we got the top 2 teams in my book, probably in our book as well, and that's who we're expecting to play in the championship. Let's start with Clemson. Went 11-3 last year, which they did not think was a success. Their over/under is set at 9.5. Offense looked awful with Cade Klubnik in the spring. He was throwing interceptions left and right. We don't really know what he can do. He's a sophomore. They are returning one of their top playmakers in running back Will Shipley. Wade, does Dabo bring Clemson back to the promised land? Do they have another pizza party at 9.5 on the over-under?
Oh man, 9.5. Now I have to be positive. I was going to go with the under, but I mean, yeah, this team's going to get to 10 wins. I mean, I think that the competition's just down a little bit. I think Florida State could very well beat Clemson, and this team could still get to that goal. So yeah, I'll give them the over, but maybe they get second in the conference.
Okay, Tyler.
Yeah, I think this is probably over for me. This just feels like a 10-2 team. I think that their offense with K. Klubniak, with DJU no longer being there, I think that Klubniak in his last game that we saw him against Tennessee wasn't very good. So we'll see if he has a better thought going into this one. Will Shipley is definitely a better running back, but their wide receivers, like I keep mentioning, isn't what we're definitely used to at Clemson. I think that Clemson's defense is going to be the best, along with Florida State and the ACC, which is going to keep them afloat. But I see 2 losses on them. One to Florida State and one to South Carolina again. I'll just say it right here.
South Carolina, I like it. Do they play Tennessee again this year?
That was in the bowl game.
No, that was in the bowl game.
Yeah, what am I thinking? I like the South Carolina loss. I'm high on that one. I think I'm actually really high on South Carolina this year.
Hey, it's in Columbia, so it's a different environment.
Yeah. So last one, rounding out the ACC, Florida State. They went 10-3 last year. Their over/under is set at 10. Of course, everybody knows about Jordan Travis, probably made one of the biggest improvements from year to year. But they opened the season with LSU. They play Clemson and Wake Forest and Florida all away, and they take on Miami at home. So 10 wins. Me personally, I'm going with the under. I could see him at 9. I think Clemson takes the cake this year in the ACC. But let's start with Wade. 10 wins, over/under.
Right at 10. I guess that's an over, huh?
Push.
It's a push. So, Tyler, well, are you going to break the push?
I am going to break the push. If you listen to Saturday's show, I'm all in on the Noles. I think that this is going to be an 11-win team. The one loss being to the Fighting Tigers of LSU. I think that the Tigers get revenge on the Noles, but I think that Florida State has to go on the road to Clemson. But if you really look at it, Florida State has the advantage at the quarterback. Jordan Travis is going to be right there at the Heisman discussion. They really tapped into the transfer portal on both sides of the ball. I think that Mike Norvell, showed his potential of the squad last year. They got off to a hot start, but in the end really fell flat on their face. So I think that I'm already saying it, Florida State is going to win the ACC. I think that it's definitely going to be interesting if they are an 11-1 team and win the ACC. They could definitely be in one of those top 4 spots in the college football playoffs. So I'm definitely drinking the Seminole Kool-Aid heading into the season.
Yeah, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm spitting it out because I see him losing to LSU. I see him losing to LSU. I see him losing to Clemson, and I see them ending the season.
They're not losing to Florida. There's no way.
I think they're losing to Florida.
Not with Graham Mertz as their quarterback.
It's going to sneak up on them. They got to play in the swamp. It's rivalry weekend. I think they lose to Florida.
I agree with your first 2, but not Florida's not doing it.
I think they're going to be prime, trying to make
like last year.
They're going to try to make a push for the playoffs in that last week, and they're just going to overlook Florida. And I think they're going to.
I think they could make the playoff if they played a Tyler situation at 11-1. I mean, we've seen the committee reward teams for playing challenging week 1 and week 2 games, and it would be very much like the committee to give Florida State a second shot against LSU, if in that scenario. So that game in Orlando is shaping up to be a really good one.